Hey everybody, Jessica here, and I'm going to show you a little quick tip that I sometimes use, and it's quite helpful sometimes, which is stroking a path with a brush in Photoshop. Now you're probably really familiar with using a lot of different brushes in Illustrator to like make a different strokes and everything, but you might not know this little tip in Photoshop. It is pretty basic, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a free brush that I have for offer on my website. So I'm going to go here into my brush panel, select my brush, and this is the one that I'm going to offer you for free, which is one that I like to use if you want to like make maybe like something that looks like a gem and it's trimmed with little tiny diamonds or something like that. So that's kind of what I had in mind when I was making this stroke. So first thing that I'm going to do is undelete that. There we go. And I've got this little simple shape here, which I think that everybody will agree everyone can draw a shape like this. So I'm going to show you how to do the trick, and then also just demonstrate a couple of my styles so that you can see it starts off as a super basic design, and with adding a couple of styles and a brush stroke around it, we can make it look really cool. So I've got my shape on this layer. That's cool. And now what I want to do is I'm going to make a new layer. And I'll click OK. So now I have a new layer above it because I don't want to work on the same layer. So make a new layer. Oops. You can click down here, or you can click your keyboard shortcut. In Mac, it's like Command Shift N. I'm not really sure in PC, but I have a new layer. So what I want to do is first off, I'm going to select my brush. So I've got this brush selected, and I want to go around this object with my brush. Well, right now, as you can see, it's totally too big. So before we do the thing to stroke the path with it, we want to take the brush down to the size that you're going to need. So if you click your left brackets, it's going to make it smaller. That's like pretty darn small, but I think I'm going to go down to 25 point. So it's really going to look like, and that just matches my the size that I'm working with. You know, if you have a bigger thing, you'll need a bigger brush or whatever. So it all just depends on what you're working with, because if you use that really big brush on that, it will look like awful. So I've got the brush down to the size that I want. That's cool. Because say if I wanted to hand draw this would be kind of a pain in the butt to just get everything just right and hand draw it and make it look smooth. So I've got my brush down to the right size. I've got the color that I want the brush in. And these are things that you need to have figured out before you before you click to stroke the path with it. So the next thing that I need to do is make a work path out of this object. And what I do is I'll just hit my command button. I'm on a Mac, and if you're on a PC, it's control. So I hit command, and then I click on this thumbnail, and that's going to make a selection out of that layer. So now I have that layer selected, and I'm going to go to my paths window, and if you don't see it, go window paths and pop that up. Well, right now I don't have any work paths, but I'm going to make a work path from the selection. So once I have any selection, and you can do this with a text layer or whatever, but I've got my selection, and all I do is click this little icon here, which is make work path from the selection. And that's going to give you a work path. And now you have this work path from your selection. You're good to go. And now all you do is with that still selected, see if you click off of it like in here or something, it will unselect that work path. But your work path obviously has to be selected for this to work. So I've got my work path selected. I'm going to click up on my new layer, and then I'm going to click this little icon here. If you hover over it, it says stroke path with brush. And so now it's just going to stroke that path with the brush. And I didn't have to draw all that. And sometimes things might come out a little funky. You might have like something, if depending on your shape, like I had a little rough edges, so you might have a little funky thing there. But for the most part, it works and it's easy. And it's something that you might not know about. So now what I'm going to do is to apply some styles here, and I'm just going to take this one with a path, and I will use one of my, what am I going to use? I think I'll use a pave. one of my pave styles here that I created. Oh, the 14 is my favorite probably. So now I have this little pave sort of thing, and it looks just like, say like, I don't know, like a gem, the little mini stones that are all surrounding a gem or something. So it's really cool. So it really works good with like my jewel and pave styles from my Creative Couture collection. So I've got this really cool little pave thing, and now I'll just take my main item and I'm going to apply one of my styles here, my textile collection. And that looks cool. I could even like shrink it down. I've got some actions here, so whenever I want to play with the styles, I might scale it down a little bit, make it a little smoother. But I'm going to scale it back up. So, long story short, that is just how easy it is to stroke your path with your brush. And this is nice too sometimes, like you already have a brush in Photoshop, or you have a brush with a little transparency, or you just don't want to jump into Illustrator to do it. And maybe you don't even have that brush in Illustrator. Maybe it's a brush you only have in Photoshop. Um, and instead of having to like, oh, okay, I have to recreate the brush in Illustrator or something, you can just do that right in Photoshop, and it's just really easy. And for somebody like me, like I work in Illustrator strategically, but for the most part, I like the freedom that I get in Photoshop to do more of like a painting style illustration. So Illustrator doesn't really work with my workflow that much unless I'm doing some specific sort of thing. So this really works with my workflow, and I've got tons of like my brushes in here in Photoshop. And so if I want to kind of have that effect, it just lets me do that right here in Photoshop. So that's a little quick tip and something that you might be not taking advantage of right now. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. And then if you have any other questions about different things you'd like to achieve or different effects, then just send me a message or leave it in the comments. All right, hope you enjoyed it. Bye.